How are you?
I'm
It's been
doing
a
great.
while. What have you been up to?
You know what? Filming. It's been a lot of filming going on, and just a lot of just coming up with creativity and different ideas. And so I've been so busy, so much going
Yeah,
on, so much happening.
yeah, I see. And I love the energy that you injected in your channel. It's a great inspiration. All right, I'm drawing so much inspiration from it.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thank
much
you.
for inspiring some of us. All right, so let's start. All right, um, how has Ghana shaped? But first, start. What was your initial perspective of Africa before you moved to Ghana? All right, what were your expectations, fears, and hopes before you moved to Ghana?
Um, I think that the thing that I feared the most when I was planning to relocate here to Ghana was finances. Just trying to decide like how I'm gonna make money and what am I gonna do, and this is a new country, and just really concerned about how I was going to maintain financially was like a big, question for me. But despite how I felt, I still was like, I don't care what's going on, what's happening. All I know is I
Mm,
am getting to Ghana. So it was a priority for me, of course, like anyone, to have that steady flow of income and to kind of have an
mm.
idea of where that's coming from and what you can do to get that access to capital. But I move forward anyhow, and I'm here, and everything has worked out amazingly, all by His
Wow.
grace.
What was your fears? All right, and also what was your hope when you were moving to Ghana?
Um, my fears was finances. That was like my
Mm,
number one fear. Another fear was not knowing how well I would adjust, even though my plan, obviously was to move here, but it's a whole totally different atmosphere, something that you have to get used to, you have to get adjusted to. There's some things that are offered in the States that you won't find here in Ghana. So it's really a big change
mm.
that you have to prepare your mind for and really be ready for.
Wow. So let's say now you finally decided to move to Ghana. You've bought the flights, and now you're in Ghana, right? What was your first impression upon your arrival in Ghana? I mean, what was the cultural, environmental, and your social observation, all right, when you stepped in Ghana? What was like, wow, I'm finally here. This is what I see. What did you ever ask yourself, what have I got to myself into?
Not what I got myself into so much. No, I never really had that thought, but my first initial thought was like, wow, there is a lot of black people here.
It's
I was
like
like,
that's
oh
like Black Life Matters. Like if you tell someone that Black Life Matters in Ghana, then which black are you talking about? Like we are all black, all right?
exactly. Exactly. I was talking to my husband the other day and we was having a conversation about something. I was trying to describe something to him and I was like, the black person. And then I thought about what I said and I was like, I said something like the black guy or something like that. And then I thought about what I said and I was just like, everybody in Ghana is black. Never mind that statement.
Yeah, you are never a minority in
Because
Ghana.
in America we're so used to like describing people according to your skin tone, and when you're in European countries the majority of the time it's going to be a white person or a Caucasian person, so that's the term you would use. So when I found myself using that black guy, I was like,
Hmm.
that's just crazy. Everybody's black. I can't even use that here.
Yes, it
So
doesn't apply real. It doesn't really apply here. So, all right, what has really changed about your perspective? All right, of Africa. All right. How has Ghana shaped your perspective about Africa? I mean, what were some of the most significant revelation that you had about Africa before you came to Ghana? And how has that really changed? What has your perspective about Africa changed overall
my
since you came to
perspective,
Ghana?
well, prior to coming to Ghana, I had never been. And so I didn't quite know what to expect. I kind of, in the back of your mind, you kind of think that it may possibly be what America, has always told you it is, which is, tore down buildings and no life, no, viability, nothing going on, nothing happening, no way to prosper or progress in life. So that was kind of like playing in the back of my mind. But then I was just like, you know what? I want to see for myself what,
Wow.
Africa has to offer. So I feel like coming here and just seeing that, oh my gosh, like you can actually come here and be successful. You can actually relocate here and start a business. You can actually come here and build a life. There's so many different opportunities here on the continent that a lot of people don't realize is happening. And I think for me, that was like the biggest wow moment. Like, wow, you can literally do so much here. And I think that a lot of people don't realize just how much you can do, how many investments you can make, and how you can really flourish and grow here living on a continent.
Wow. So, did you face any challenges in your adapting to the new reality that you found, the newfound home? I mean, did you face any challenges in adapting to the new culture, to the new environment? I mean, everything. I mean, and how were you able to overcome it? Can you briefly share some of the challenges that you faced in your adaptation? I mean, some of the culture shock. I definitely know that you really understood that Africa is quite different from America. I mean, we are quite different, right? The society and everything. But there is something that you never expected that it would be. I mean, so far, all right. How have you been able to overcome those kind of challenges, and how have you been able to adapt? Because I call you Ajo, right? Born on Monday, and how you've been able to adapt is so beautiful. All right. It's very hard for unless you speak or unless you spoke in the right word to use. No one would even to recognize that you are like everything about you shows that you're part of us. How did you do it?
I would say that I would have to give a huge thank you to my husband, first of all, because he has just helped me tremendously with just making it a smooth transition coming here to Ghana. I don't know if it would have been as smooth without him because like you've mentioned, it is a language barrier. You do have a cultural difference. So it's a lot of that is happening, and I feel like it would have probably been a lot more difficult for me if I didn't have him to translate certain things, if I didn't have him to sit me down and say, listen, don't react in that way because that person didn't mean it like that. This is our culture. Just like
Oh,
orientating me on the culture and the life here in Ghana has really helped me so much. So I got to give a big shout out to my man because without him, I don't know if I would have sank or swim. I don't know. I don't know. So,
shout out my man, shout out my man. You've done really well, right?
so I'm
The blend
grateful.
is the blend is super. All right, it's really really super. Okay, so let's discuss some of the cultural differences. All right, some of the
Mhm.
striking difference, cultural difference that we had. All right, did you notice some similarities between Africans and African Americans when you came to Ghana? And can you share some of it? And also, if you don't mind, can you also share some of the striking difference between the two groups?
I would say that it's funny because me and hubby was just talking about this the other day, but I remember when I was younger and my great grandmother was still living at the time. And a lot of things that she did back then when I was a child, I see happening right here in Ghana all the time. And
Wow.
prior to me, like,
Can you share
having
some
my
of it?
great
Briefly,
grandmother,
can you share some of it? Do you mind sharing just a sneak peek of those things? Something that's
yeah.
probably you see
And
that,
so,
whoa, this could be America.
And so, one of the things that I recently seen, what was it? For example, this wasn't recent, but for example, you know how we have like clotheslines and like you out when you wash your clothes, you hang them on the line outside so they can air dry. And when I
Mm-hmm.
was younger, my grandmother had the same clothesline outside. She would wash her clothes out by hand in the tub, and then when she was finished, she would go outside, and I would help her hang the clothes on the clothesline.
Yeah.
And even when the dryer was invented, because when she was doing this, it was dryers wasn't invented yet. So eventually they developed the dryer. And even when they developed the dryer and she actually went out and purchased one, she still did not use the dryer. She still hung her clothes out on the clothesline. And I remember just like hanging the clothes out one day and just thinking about her. And I was just like, you know what? my grandmother was preparing me for life in Ghana before I even thought about coming, because the same thing that I seen her do is what I was doing in that moment. I was just like, wow, like you just never know how life is preparing you and
Mm,
what direction is pushing you into. So
mm,
I found it so fascinating. Another thing that we talked about, this is a little, but he was discussing how he showed me, it was on TikTok, how it was like a TikTok funny skit, and it was like, this is African, how African mothers are at midnight. And so
mhm.
it was like a funny skit of like a person sitting on a pot, like, like a regular kind of like a paint can type of thing, like the white, tall plastic paint cans, like that. And you seen him using the bathroom in the pot in the middle of the
Mhm.
night. And they were saying how, like, that's how African mothers are. Like, they can have a toilet, they would not use the toilet, they
Exactly.
still gonna use that can or the pot or whatever.
Mhm.
And so we were laughing, and I was like, my grandmother used to do that all the
Wow.
time.
It's
She
pretty
had
much the
literally a
same, right?
bucket. That's what it is, a bucket. She had but it looks like them white paint buckets, the plastic buckets, the big gallon buckets. And she had one in her room, and she used to always use it. And she had it wasn't like she didn't have access to running water and a toilet, because she did, but she used this bucket every night. And I was cracking up, because I was just like, so many things that she did. Like, it's like in her generation, it's like she was closer, I feel like,
Mhm.
to the African bloodline in
Exactly.
her generation.
Exactly.
So she was used to and accustomed to doing a lot of things that you find in Africa, because she was closer. And then as you get down the line of the bloodline in America, you start losing those certain traits and those
Mm,
certain
mm,
instincts.
mm.
And for her, it was still very pure, and she was like a true African woman, and just living in the States.
Wow. That's
So
incredible.
it's yeah.
It's really incredible. This brings to this question. I just want to ask, follow up with this. From what you just said, all right,
Mhm.
how has your coming to Ghana directly impacted, or your experience directly impacted your personal belief about Africans and African American, or African diaspora, right? I mean, Africans and African in America, African in the Caribbean, African in Europe, and also your professional life. Are there any specific experiences in Ghana that have significantly influenced your career, your relationship, your general view of we as Black people?
Because I have the opportunity to interact with Ghanaians on a daily basis, I feel like
Mm,
it has opened up my mind to the reality that, wow, we can live together in harmony, we can live as one people. Because when you're in the States, they kind of like create this narrative that Africans don't like African Americans and vice
wow.
versa. And kind of like this, like this line of conflict, unresolved conflict, that
Yeah.
we never even, per se came to Africa. So how do we already have this conflict happening? And so I think coming here, I was able to see that that's not true. Like, yeah, you have your moments where you might, get into a little disagreement with another Ghanaian as an African, but that's anywhere. Like, as Black people, I don't care where you
Yeah.
are. You could be on the moon. If you have another Black person, there might be a potential for a disagreement. As long as there are two different humans, two different personalities with two different minds, it's always going to be a disagreement. So just because I'm African and you're African American, or vice versa, what does that mean? That we're not human and we're not supposed to have quarrels and disagreements? That's not reality. Reality is quarrels and disagreements happen wherever you are on the
Mm,
face of the earth. And just because you may have an encounter with an African or an African American doesn't mean that you can't get along, or you don't like each other, or you don't have respect for each other. It just means you're two different people, and these things happen. And I don't care what race you're from, you're going to have disagreements with another human.
yeah, I agree. So I think that has also affected your personal growth and your as also build up your level of maturity in terms of relating, or in terms of relation between Africans, continental Africans, and African diaspora, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right. So, what would be your advice to anyone, any America? Like I always point this when you need to throw around the internet, you see people trying to bridge the gap or bridge the divide